What's up, Roxstars? It's Rox, and I'm coming to you today with a review for The Underground Season 2, Episode 4. So let's get to it, shall we? Alright, you guys, let's talk about the sewing circle first, because there's been three very separate stories this time, so it makes it easier for you to talk about. Okay, Elizabeth is working with these sewing circle girls, the girl Georgia and the rest of them, and you know, they're abolitionists, they are trying to get the word out and prepare for this revolution that you know, we gonna get free. The discussion for them is whether or not it's going to happen peacefully, or if it's going to be this whole Nat Turner, you know, by any means necessary type of revolution. Of course, the sewing circle would like to not resort to violence, even though we know that they've been practicing shooting, and you know, if shit really gets down to it, I guess they would do it, but they are trying to keep along the lines of non-violence. Elizabeth's character is changing a lot, which I figured it would, because when her husband died, it's sort of like she is definitely on her own, and it's time to make a decision. Okay, where exactly do you stand? I have a feeling that the anger inside of Elizabeth makes her stand more on the violent side. And Georgia is there kind of as her conscience to kind of remind her that, no, we can probably get a lot further if, you know, we introduce love and nonviolence. So that's the thing that's going on with Elizabeth and Georgia. And what makes me think that is that there's this one scene where Elizabeth is at a table having dinner with a bunch of abolitionists, and there's a gentleman there who has caught her eye. He's a cute enough guy, but he also is a little bit more extreme, a little bit more radical, I guess, where he's willing to, you know, fight, kill, whatever you got to do for freedom of these slaves. It's so interesting when you see white people of that time really being passionate about being, you know, about stopping slavery, about the abolishment of slavery, because everything around them tells them that slavery is what it is. It makes you realize that not all white people are bad, and that many of them, even back then, realized that these are human beings first, and they should be free just like everybody else. Okay, so Elizabeth has some interest in this guy, you can tell. He invites her along to one of his trips because she's supposed to be this do-gooder. He tells Georgia that she's going to come along as a, you know, to make sure that he stays in line and stays out of trouble. But like I said, Elizabeth is teetering both right on the edge. And that's when we find out from him that the only reason why he is fighting for the abolishment of slavery is because it's wrong. No other reason. It doesn't have to be no sob story. You know, he gives her a sob story at first. I thought of Hook and Becky from Scandal. You know, the same thing, you know, playing on her emotions. But he was just like, no, none of that is true. There's no reason why I want to stop it other than the fact that it is wrong. So now we've got this group of people that are trying to abolish slavery. They are going to have a town meeting. All the people in the town are there, and we have speakers there that are talking about slavery being a sin. It's time for Georgia to get up there and speak, and Georgia gets cold feet. So she walks off the stage and leaves her speech up there. Well, time for Elizabeth to step up, and she goes up there and not only delivers her speech, but she adds a whole lot of fire and brimstone behind the fact that these people are doing shit wrong and that slavery should not be happening. Okay, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. All men are created equal. You know, she's going on and on. There are some people there that are feeling what she's saying. There are many others who are not. All right, so you know what happens when you have shit like that going on. You saying something like this, a fight breaks out. Somebody throws a rock and hits her in the head, knocks her down. Okay, and next thing you know, everybody is brawling. That rock that hit her in the head like knocked some sense into her, like thinking of herself like, wow, this is really crazy. Like, I'm just saying something and somebody attacks me. She immediately gets up and she wants to fight now. Physically fight. Okay. And that's when Georgia rushes up to her and says, no, don't do that. Come on, let's go. We got to stay nonviolent. And she leaves. But yeah, we see that it's always going to be a struggle between Elizabeth and her emotions of whether or not she's going to fight violently or non-violently. I guess as time goes on, we'll see. I think we can finally feel the shift in the energy of the show with the return, the full return and explanation, or partial explanation of Kato. It's so funny because as much as Kato is shown as the villain, I have realized that he is a very integral part of this show. He is needed because of the instability of his character. You know, you don't quite know exactly how to peg Kato, and we still don't know exactly, but we get a little bit more information, or maybe I should say, the story last night adds to the mystique of Kato, even though we kind of understand him a little bit better. So we'll start with the flashbacks. Now, Kato had come into some money at the end of last season, remember? And so evidently he moved out of the country. Don't know how he got out of the country, but he was over in London, England. He became an esteemed artist by the name of C. Powell, evidently. He met a beautiful British Indian lady, tried to fight his feelings for her, okay, because he felt like if she knew the real him, that she would look at him as a monster. The shit that he's done, the things that he's been through. I mean, you can look at Kato and tell that he's been through quite a bit. His face is burned, his back is laced with the welts from being a slave. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of already look at Kato and tell that he has a whole lot with him, but the girl assures him that no, she loves him, that she's not going anywhere. Now that they are in London, England, you know, he's able to live almost like a rich white person. It seems very important to him to be able to be amongst the rich white people. We saw in one scene when they are out to dinner, this white guy says something offensive to his girlfriend. What is the girl's name? What is it? I don't remember her name. I'm sorry. But did they even say her name ever? If it is, y'all tell it. But anyway, the guy says something offensive to her, and he is no longer C. Powell. He is back to Kato and remembering the oppression back in the States, and he immediately wants to beat the guy's ass. Now, of course, the girl tries to talk him out of it. Don't even worry about it, but he's not gonna let her go. Okay, he goes over there and busts a nigga in the head with a bottle. Some shit we just gotta take care of right then and there. But that also shows you that Kato is still frustrated with the fact that even if he has this money and he's able to go to the nice establishments as the white people, he still is looked at, you know, and his woman is still looked at as just a regular old nigga. At least that's how he interprets the whole thing. So we see their relationship begin to grow. You know, he falls in love with her. A second chance at love for Kato. You know, we know that he lost his wife and daughter to the slave trade. And so it looks like Kato is taking a chance and trying to be in love and starting his life over again. But then he's reminded when they visit a fight club of sorts out in Ireland. When we see two white guys that are fighting and one loses, okay, they're asking who's going to be the next challenger. Well, Kato's girlfriend puts him in. Him. Okay, he's looking like, really? All right, but she knows he has it in him. And he gets in the ring and he is beating asses and taking names. Okay, so Kato has found his newfound sport. All right, beating white folks' asses and getting praised for it. Seems like it would be a match made in heaven, correct? Well, not necessarily. Okay, because as he returns back and forth to the club to fight, he is in the ring with this one particular guy who kind of hits him with a sucker punch. He's knocked down to the ground, and you can see the transformation in Kato's face. I'm not quite sure if he was feeling like no matter what I do, the white man is always going to sneak up on me and do some foul shit, or if he was feeling like, you know what, this is the sign that I needed to get my ass back to the States and do whatever the fuck I'm gonna do in the state. Like, I'm not sure exactly what he went through right then, but he gave up. And his girlfriend, the fiance, she was very disappointed. She was yelling for him to get up, you know, and take, you know, fight for your respect, fight for your dignity, okay, fight for your life. And he didn't do it. He waited until they counted it out, you know, and he lost the match. And then he goes and beats the guy up like he knew that he could. So I'm not quite sure what if I, you know, it could mean a few things why he stopped and did that. But what it did do for sure was remind him that he has this in him, that he cannot continue to be in London, England, acting like everything is okay when he has a whole life as fucked up as it may be in the United States. Okay, so in the middle of the night, he leaves, or he's attempting to leave. She wakes up and sees the note that he left her, and I guess he left her the deed to his property out there. And so she catches him right before he's leaving, though, and she was just like, you know what? It doesn't make any fucking sense that you feel that you have to leave and go back to that what you were. She's already proven to him she feels that she loves him. She doesn't want him for any of that, none of his gifts. She just loves him. And I think that's true. She's always been there and trying to uplift him, even when he didn't want to fight. You know, she was telling him, do it for your family, do it for the people back home, do it for all the anger that's consuming you. It was interesting that she didn't understand why he was leaving at the time. Well, I'm sure it's because she's in love and nobody wants to see the person that they love leave them. But she was like, you want to go back where they treated you like an animal? I just deserve better than this. And he was like, you're right, you do. Okay, and he leaves. So that is a little bit of, this was 4 months before we see him meet back up with Noah. But that gives you a little bit more, a bit about Kato, right? And then when we talk about him and Noah now, 4 months later, you know, Noah has been brought to Philadelphia where his home is. He's up north, so he's able to live. You know, they don't give a fuck about your skin tone. Well, not really. They're more concerned about whether you have this bwit. Kato has the money. Okay, so he's living there. He's got white people working for him. You know, it's just an oxymoron, the whole thing. And Noah is so off. Like when he wakes up the next morning, you know, he's in this nice room. He's in this nice house. They got these nice clothes for him, you know, and he's just sort of looking around like, what the fuck is going on here? He goes downstairs and he's asking Kato, like, what, you know, why am I here? And he was like, why are you here? I mean, I would think that you would thank me, okay, for taking you out of the situation that you were in. But of course, Noah doesn't want to be out. Well, he wants to be out of the situation he was in, but he would like for all of them to be out of the situation they were in. Okay, if he is just this lone slave up there, especially with the love of his life, Rosalie, still there, he doesn't even know she's pregnant, then he still has work to do. Kato was like, you know what, let's go walk, let's talk. Okay, they go to a fine restaurant out in Philadelphia. Again, he's trying to show Noah, you know, the better things in life, how he has come up. Noah's already, you can see, he's trying to come up with a plan and trying to get away. He was like, don't even try it. You see all these white folks around here? Yeah, I pay them. They will catch your ass before you hit the door. So don't try it. But they have this conversation while they're at the table. I think Kato was just trying to get a feel for where Noah's head is. Okay, and Noah's head, like I said, is still back in Georgia or somewhere along the eastern southern coast over there where he, you know, where he wants to be able to get to these people and help them get free. But Kato was like, your plan never works. So I don't know why you going through all of this. Look at where you are now. You all thinking you're going to have this happily ever after with Rosalie, but you going to end up dead, bruh. Kato was the most sour about the fact that they left him behind. And logic would tell you why they left him behind. There's no way that you can keep staying behind for people when these folks are right on your tail. All right. There even was a bunch of times on the show last season when Noah got separated from Rosalie. You know, everybody was breaking up and everybody was just fucking trying to survive. But Kato has put it in his mind that that abandonment is another reason for him to hate Noah so much. But then, like I said, Kato is such a he is such a series of contradictions because, you know, he was the slave, what is it, the slave driver, what is the word, you guys know what I'm talking about. You know, he was the one that kept the slaves in order for the white man, okay, for the boss. But then he helped the Macon 7 get out, and then the whole time that they were running, he was, you know, you weren't quite sure if he was trying to help or hinder. You couldn't tell if he was just out for self or he was really looking out for everybody. It was just always back and forth. Okay, so I think that that's still how Kato's mind works now. He's back and forth whether or not Noah and them, you know, were really good or if they were bad, just like he is. Noah wants to point out to him, like, you know what, you out here with these rich white folks, they don't give a fuck about you, okay, you just want to hang with them for whatever reason, you're not even out here trying to look for your family, your wife, your daughter, okay, what about those people? Of course, that was entirely too much for Kato to hear. So Kato is determined to prove to Noah that he is not much different than he is, okay, case in point, he gets a shipment of slaves in. That's terrible to say, it sounds like they're packaged, but that's what they were considered back then. They were considered property. He gets a shipment of slaves in, and he tells Noah, you know what, I will free each one of these slaves. I will pay for their freedom if you turn yourself in and go back to Georgia and become a slave again. So now Noah is faced with this decision. Does he want to free all these people? Okay, because you're supposed to be all this savior, and you know, as far as Cato is concerned, all you worried about is the freedom of everybody else. Or do you preserve yourself, because that's a natural human instinct in us to preserve ourselves first? What is it going to be? Well, of course, after Noah thinks about it, he's just like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm sure that that was an eye-opener for Noah as well. And in Cato's mind, this has proven him right. So now the blood then got real bad between Cato and Noah. You know, they're fighting. Looking like they just really trying to get off some steam, really. But also, there's some pretty good blows in there. When Noah looks like he's getting the best of Cato, he finally kind of gives in and doesn't kill him, because his reasoning is they kill enough of us already. I'm not going to help the white man do it to you. So Cato and Noah have their thing. It's a hate relationship, really, but Noah still looks at him first as a black man who is trying to get free just like everybody else, even though he has this money and he seems to think he's free. His mind is not free. His heart is not free. So last scene, we see Cato. He's sitting out on his veranda. One of his white workers, I don't know what to call them, servants. Cato sees him and says, so did they get off to freedom? And he was like, yep, they're on their way to Canada. Okay, so then we see that Cato, even though he would like us to believe that he's this animal who would keep these slaves or send them back to slavery, he actually bought their freedom anyway. All right, and they're going on to Canada. So there's that other contradiction. Okay, he's this jerk, but he's freeing slaves. Then the guy says, you know, when you guys are fighting, you put your guard down. You didn't put your whole into that. Cato was just like, yeah, you know, you can run from blows or you can draw them in. The difference between me and Noah, or me and the rest of the world, is that those folks hide who they are. I know who I am. I chose to come back to this country because I know what it needs. An earthquake needs to tear it apart. A flood needs to come and drown everything. The world needs me. And at the same time, we see Noah, who has lost a little bit of his spunk, obviously. There's a man who is talking to him and says, yeah, I heard stories about you. You are a hero. Okay, you in the making 7. You know, you did so much, Rosalie used to tell me. And he was like, I didn't do nothing. Those people did not make it. I lied, I cheated, I killed, steal, whatever I had to do to get where I was. And I even failed at protecting Rosalie. You know, I would have been happy if they made it, but they didn't make it. And the guy simply says back to him, you know what, but you gave them a choice. All right, you didn't force them to go. There was a choice. This was probably the first time in their lives that these people actually had a choice about their destiny and where they were going. So whether or not they got killed or they was able to get free, this was probably the first time that these people were actually looked at as human beings, and they were willing to take that chance. So Underground was really, really good. I think this show is amazing. And it's something that is definitely needed right now, because you can kind of see all of you can connect what's happening on the show in a lot of ways to what's happening now. So they do a good job of keeping it relevant, even though it's a historical piece. What did you guys think about the episode, though? Y'all, also, who is Bokeem? I didn't even talk about it because I forget about him all the time. Like, I thought that was Steen's daddy. I was quickly corrected last week by a lot of you guys, and even a friend of mine that I was speaking with, and it's like, they were like, no, I don't think that's the daddy. You have it confused. And I said, you know, you're probably right. I do. So he is not the daddy from what I can understand. But who is he? Like, we in 5 episodes now. Why haven't they explained his character to us? It's starting to frustrate me. And really, I block him out because I don't know who he is. And it's always at the beginning. It's only one little part. I have a feeling they're going to wait all the way to the end of the season for us to really know his story. So that part still bothers me. But overall, excellent episode, excellent show.